Welcome to another episode of What Else You Got. I'm your host, Mitch, and I'm with Margo. What else you got, Margo?
Oh man, I got so much. I got so much. I took a sleeping pill last night, so I kind of feel like I either got hit by a freight train or I'm just a little wobbly. Did you ever play with those little toys, Weeble Wobbles? I don't even know if that's what they were called. But anyhow, you know that you poke them and they wobble back and forth. That's how I feel this morning. Do you ever take a sleeping pill?
Occasionally I take Benadryl when allergies get really entertaining.
Does that help you sleep?
Sometimes,
Benadryl does not help me sleep, but it helps you sleep.
as long as I don't overuse it.
Well, technically, I'm a redhead, which is a whole nother topic. But certain medications affect redheads differently than ye normal people. Um, but nonetheless, Benadryl does not help me sleep. So I don't usually take Benadryl. But I did take a mild sleep aid last night, and boy, it knocked me out. Knocked me out. Good thing I set an alarm. Actually, it's a good thing I set two alarms and I had a snooze button. But I'm here.
Okay.
Do you ever have trouble sleeping?
More often than not.
Do you dream?
Not usually.
They say something about people who don't dream.
We're weird.
Something. Yeah, I think so. But um, my therapist taught me a new term. You would think at my age, and remember, I'm still really young, you would think I would know most things about life and the world. But every time she teaches me something new, it blows my mind. She was the first one. And so, like, just maybe a year and a half ago, she told me that it sounded like I am a lucid dreamer. Do you know what that means?
Basically, you have very vivid dreams.
More than that, though. Lucid, and just like anything, there's multiple definitions and different degrees, different levels of the definition. But basically, a lucid dreamer sometimes can control their own dreams, and lucid dreaming can seem like you're actually awake. So years ago, and this just made so much sense. When she told me about lucid dreaming, it was just like things started clicking into place. It made me understand what was happening during the night when I still woke up so exhausted. Years ago, I did a sleep study, and they had me take a handwritten test the next morning. But when the first test first ended, I asked them, I said, well, are you going to be able to get any results? Because I hardly slept. And she looked at me like I was a crazy person. Not my therapist, the sleep technician. The sleep technician looked at me and she said, you slept a lot. And I just didn't understand because I honestly thought I had only slept 1 or 2 hours. I thought I was awake the entire time. And so when I took the test, um, I had to answer questions about how much I slept, the quality of my sleep, and whether or not I dreamt. And then I'm one of those types of people who always go and look at the chart notes that the technicians and the doctors write in my medical records because I want to know what they're saying about me. And so she had written that my morning test, my perception of my sleep did not match up with the reality of my sleep, which at the time I didn't understand what that meant. But then, about a year and a half ago, my therapist explained lucid dreaming to me. So that makes more sense now. So this happens to actually a lot of people. They wake up in the middle of the night or think they've woken up. So either actually wake up or just think you woke up. And then you start lucid dreaming, thinking that you're still awake. So, like, even processing your workday or processing the to do list for the next day. So, you think you're laying there worrying or thinking or planning or contemplating, when in fact, it's actually you're asleep and it's a lucid dream. And so then when the alarm goes off in the morning, you think you didn't sleep, but actually you did. You were lucid dreaming, even dreaming about your to-do list. Does that make sense?
That it does, and it's very interesting how vivid some dreams can get. And of course, there's a spectrum of everything from I don't remember anything, slash I don't have them, all the way to the um, like you just described, all the way awake feeling.
The the more, in my opinion, the more interesting type of lucid dreaming is when you can control your dreams. Those are awesome. So one of my favorite lucid dreams is flying. So you said you don't normally dream. So have you ever had a dream that you were flying?
No, maybe just into a wall.
I'm telling you, flying dreams are awesome. I absolutely love flying dreams because not only are you floating through the air and you can like control where you're going in the air, but I can also dream how I control my landing, and then I can like jump and bounce back up into the air and higher and fly and soar through the air. I'm telling you, if you're gonna have a dream, have a flying dream. It's pretty cool.
Sounds like a Matrix dream.
A happy Matrix dream. There's a lot of unhappy stuff in the Matrix.
There's a scene where they're jumping and they
Oh, from
make it
like
super bouncy,
building to building.
and off of hitting a street.
Okay. Yeah. Matrix. Yeah. There's a lot of unhappy parts in the Matrix.
Well, it's called dystopian for a reason.
Well, but a happy part is it does have Keanu Reeves in it. So I think that there's maybe only one Keanu Reeves movie I wasn't a big fan of, but I love most of his movies.
I was going to say it'd be very interesting to mix the Matrix and John Wick together.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I wasn't gonna name which movie I didn't like, but
Oh,
you said it, not me. I love
but
Keanu
yeah, it'd be a
Reeves
very
though.
interesting mix.
Yeah, he's just, I I find it a little boring when an actor does basically the same character over and over and over again. I really admire an actress who has a just a wide repertoire of characters that they can play where you don't even necessarily think about the name of the actor while you're watching the movie. They just completely pull you in, and um your disbelief is suspended and you are just captured in the movie. I love those.
Yeah, one of the first names that popped in my head was Liam Neeson, even though he usually plays a grungier character, but it took me forever to realize that he played Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace.
Well, I'm so glad you just told me how to pronounce that character's name because I read my grandsons a book before they went to bed last night. Okay, yeah, I have grandsons, but I'm still not old. Okay, let's just be clear. But I was reading them a book, and who knew, you know, those little golden book story books from a million years ago? They have Star Wars books. And so to see the spell, say that character's name again,
Qui-Gon.
to see the spelling of that in a little kid's storybook, I was like, my brain just froze. I couldn't remember the movie at all. I couldn't remember the characters' names. I just saw the spelling of that and I was like, wait, what? I wish I had that book here right now because to see the spelling of a lot of the characters' names, it was like, who thought up these names and were they aware of how it looks versus how it sounds?
Yeah, I want to say Qui-Gon is like Q apostrophe U G O N or something like that.
In this little storybook, there was not an apostrophe, so it did not give me any little helps like that. But
Uh, yeah, but yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn. He's considered a gray Jedi.
I don't know what that means.
So, getting into Star Wars lore, okay? So you have the Jedi and you have the dark side or the Sith.
Yeah.
So the light Jedi, the dark Sith, and there's what's known as the gray Jedi, which sit in between. Because Jedi, this is where all the Star Wars nerds are going to correct me, but the Jedi have a high moral ground that is very strict. No attachment, no possessions. Very, if you want to say, strict Buddhist style. And so you don't have attachments and you serve those around you. And then you have the Sith who have a strive for attachments, power, strength, and it's in theory the opposite of what Jedi are. And Grey Jedi take the best of both worlds and are able to blend to achieve the greater good. But because most Jedi can't toe the line, and if they toe the line, they usually go Sith. Um, when you have good gray Jedi, they are, in my opinion, better than regular Jedi, where the regular Jedi is all or nothing, has to be good.
Okay. Um, uh, I enjoy Star Wars. I absolutely do. Wouldn't want to polarize anybody here. But again, maybe to date myself a little bit, I watched those Charlie Brown cartoons. I don't even know if they're still aired, but where they're sitting in school and the teacher's talking, and all I heard was so yeah, cool. That was awesome. But I did type into Google um I did type into Google character names because when I was reading that book, one of the character names, man, I wish I had that book here right now. Um, one of the character names, he was like a junk parts dealer. So I'm trying to look at the character names to see if I can find his name. Okay, say Liam Neeson's character name again.
Qui Gon.
It's spelled Q-U-I-Gon.
That's what it was. I knew there was some kind of punctuation mark in there.
And then, so I found the right movie. So I'm going to see if I can find the junk dealers
Watto.
beginning with a W.
Yep, Watto. Basically, he's the slave master of Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, okay. You found it on Google, but that's not how it was spelled in that kid's book. I'm telling you what, I need that kid's book here. I'm going to go back to my grandson's house and steal that book because that's not how it was spelled in that book. It was spelled Wadgun, like Wadgun. And I was like, who came up with these names? Because this seems spelled out. So, okay, I'm gonna have to focus really hard to think about anything other than that storybook today.
Hey, I'm okay talking Star Wars.
No, 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 no. I didn't say Star Wars. I said that storybook. There's a difference.
Oh, okay.
There's a difference. Absolutely, there's a difference.
Yeah, I actually just finished binging Andor, which is in between the first three movies, one, two, and three, and episodes four, five, six. Technically, it comes just before Rogue One, and so it's one of those that it tells the story of the birth of the rebellion, or at least from one of the angles, because technically, that's where you get Star Wars Rebels, which also sort of starts the rebellion, but that's also in the middle of the rebellion.
So, are you a fan of Jar Jar Binks?
He's a special character. I do really like the Darth Jar Jar fan lore, where he is actually the Sith Master, not Palpatine, and he just plays a phenomenal role of looking like a good guy.
Okay, lost me on all of that, but I do know that people either love Jar Jar or hate Jar Jar. I don't think there's anybody who's middle of the road on Jar Jar.
Yeah, Jar Jar is a very interesting. I probably am middle-ish on the like side, but Lego actually came out with a Darth Jar Jar set.
Well, I just think it's hilarious, but you know what? Maybe I like Jar Jar because I can relate to Jar Jar because, people either like me or don't like me. There's really no middle of the road for me. So I can relate to Jar Jar.
One of the best lines of the first movie when Qui Gon and Obi Wan first meet Jar Jar. Jar Jar says something to the effect of, "I can speak. I'm intelligent." Qui Gon's immediately responds, "The ability to speak does not mean you're intelligent."
Well, case in point, here we are.
Yeah, I'll have to pull that quote to actually get it correct, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh man, how did we end up on Star Wars? I thought we were talking about sleep.
Lucid dreaming. Uh,
Oh, we were talking about flying and the Matrix, and these are our squirrels. These are our squirrels. Oh.
Sometimes they're great, and I got plenty to say on Star Wars.
You were like a Star Wars encyclopedia.
Granted, I'm still quite mild compared to real diehards that have all of the Old Republic lore down. I know of it, but I don't have it down. Now, here's the real polarizing point: Star Trek.
Well, I'm pretty sure you told me there were certain topics we weren't supposed to talk about on this podcast because we wouldn't want to polarize people too much. So, if we can't talk about politics and we can't talk about religion, how in the world can we possibly talk about Star Wars versus Star Trek? Are you sure this is a topic that is allowed?
Yeah, it's allowed.
Are you sure? We could probably even use them as euphemisms. There's a good idea. What if instead of we could say we were talking about Star Wars versus Star Trek, but it could actually be a euphemism to actually talk about politics.
That's technically what Star Wars is: commentary on politics.
Most entertainment is a commentary on politics.
Yeah, because the original three Star Wars were commentary on the Vietnam War.
But if I have to identify Star Trek,
Your Star
I'm
Trek.
Star Trek.
Which one?
If I had to choose,
Original, Deep Space, Next Gen,
I'm funny.
Voyager,
I, I'm
one of the new ones.
I love the only Star Trek series I don't care for is the cartoon one, Below Decks.
I
Just
haven't seen
because
the new ones yet. I still need to see them.
just because I'm not a huge, no offense to cartoon lovers and anime lovers, but I'm just not a big fan of animation. I prefer, is it called live action people?
Yep, live action.
Yeah. So that's just my cup of tea. Again, grandsons are on my brain when I'm with them. They want to watch the animated stuff. And so there's a ton of really good stuff out there. I know because we've watched it over and over and over again. But yeah, I prefer live action humans.
Yeah. Now, one of the really interesting things, so I just need to delineate. There is a difference between cartoons and
Yeah,
anime.
yeah, yeah.
Anime is generally Japanese sourced or Asian
Right.
sourced, but it has also expanded because it's a very distinct style. Cartoons is anything else that doesn't fit into the anime category
Mm,
that's animated.
I
But
don't know if the general public would completely agree with that definition. I think it's more multifaceted than just anime and cartoons. I think that there's a whole broad spectrum in there. And bottom line is, anime is still animation. And, what what's, isn't there a specific term for like Disney animation?
there's a couple different terms, but there is a category of Disney animation.
Well, Pixar is a studio brand.
Yes, it used to be its own studio, then Disney bought them. Um, which the funny thing is, Pixar started because Disney did not want to do animation. They wanted to do hand drawn animation, not digital animation. And so Pixar was born. And then after Pixar started picking up speed, Disney started doing deals with them, and then eventually just bought them. I don't know what year it was, but that's why you have all these Disney Pixar titles. Is that they were partnered, and then if you notice, there's not really any Pixar movies anymore because Disney has just absorbed them all.
Well, if I had to choose an animation show or whatever to watch, I love Pixar shorts. Have you ever watched Pixar shorts?
Oh, those are the best.
They
No one
are
makes those things anymore.
awesome. I love Pixar shorts. Those are just a kick in the pants.
That was one of the best parts of actually going to movies when theaters were basically the only way to see a movie, because they always started with the short at the beginning, and you're going, "Oh, this is cool." And sometimes you wish the shorts were a little more full featured.
I bought, back when we used to buy DVDs. Does anybody still buy DVDs? Okay, well, back in the day when I used to buy DVDs, I bought at least one or two, maybe DVD collections of Pixar shorts. And so I think they're terrific. I get a kick out of them. They make me smile and laugh.
Yeah, and like I said, there's some of them that they could really just expand into full features, or continue to expand on. Which one of the things that I found a couple of years ago that is on Disney or not Disney on Netflix and just because of its rating on Netflix, your discretion advised, of Love, Robots, and Death, I think it was. Love, Death, Robots, which is just a bunch of shorts. There's no storyline across the entire thing, but some of them are absolutely phenomenal. There's others that are okay, and there's some that no one should see. But on average, there's some really good ones, more for the older audience. Yeah, so some fun stuff right there for you.
Have you ever gotten an have you ever gotten um a sty in your eye?
At one point, they're not fun.
No, not fun. Not fun.
So, you want to describe what a sty is?
It's more complicated than I ever originally thought. An eye doctor explained it to me not long ago. So I used to get chronic styes. I mean, I would just get them on a regular basis. And a sty is basically a pimple on the inside of your eyelid. So lower eyelid, upper eyelid, inside, on the inside of your eye,
It can also be on the edge.
right on the edge of your lid. Yes. Um, they're painful. They look gross. They make your eyelid swell up and turn red, at least for me. And it sometimes can make you look like you have pink eye, and nobody wants to be around someone who has pink eye because they're contagious. So I had injured my eye years ago, got whacked in the eyeball with a blackberry vine. They have thorns. It hurt. It was bad. So I was having trouble getting it to heal, so I ended up going to the eye doctor. And he explained to me that, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, a lot of medical terms why people get styes. So I won't go into that because I can't remember half of it. But he explained to me that if your tear ducts are blocked and not working correctly, you're more prone to getting styes, and that styes don't just involve blocked ducts, they involve mites. Have you ever thought about the mites that live in your on your eyelashes and around your eyes? Look, dude, I'm not a fan of bugs. I don't like any bugs, especially the tinier they are. I mean, I can handle a big giant tarantula because you can see those suckers coming. But if you're talking about little tiny bugs like mites, I don't even like to talk about that because it creeps me out because you can't see them with your naked eye. But he explained to me that if you have blocked tear ducts, you can actually have more mites in your eyelashes. And the more mites you have, the more chronic your styes become. And so he told me to do a couple things. One of which was to get a battery operated eye mask. Have you ever worn an eye mask?
It depends on which definition. To go to bed, yes. To do other stuff, no.
Eye mask, that people like the kinds you wear to block out the light to go to sleep with. But this was a battery operated eye mask that was heated. So it's like a heating pad for your eyeballs. So the heating pad, so it actually felt really awesome. So battery operated heating pad for your eyeballs in the shape of an eye mask to open up your tear ducts and your oil glands to help them function better. And then he also told me to use these eye wipes that are based with like a tea tree oil in them. So wipe your eyes um, before you go to bed and when you get up in the morning. And the tea tree oil makes the little tiny mites not want to be anywhere near your eyes. So since I started using those eye wipes, knock on wood, I'm not superstitious, but I haven't had a single sty since using those eye wipes.
So, do you know where the phrase knock on wood comes from or what it actually means?
Nope.
So, it stems from mythology. Basically, what you do, if you want good luck, you would go knock on a tree, so knock on wood. And inside the tree are nymphs, and nymphs can bring fortune and luck. And so, if you knock on a tree, you're wishing for the nymph to bring you luck. So, when you say knock on wood, you're wishing for a good thing to happen.
Okay. I need all the help I can get. I need those little nymphs to just sprinkle their happy, fortunate dust on me, as long as it doesn't include mites.
I was going to say, Tinkerbell will probably float you away if you want dust, but I'm going. Don't go to Neverland.
But they fly there, and I really enjoy flying. So,
Well, you know what Neverland is symbolic of, right?
another war?
No. So it's the afterlife, and that's why when you go to Neverland, it's the afterlife, and specifically the lost boys are the boys who haven't found their families and they are lost for a variety of different things, and that's why there's no aging, there's no adults. It's Neverland.
I don't know whether to feel happy or sad about this.
There's also a little bit more lore when you get into actually reading the book, which I have not read the book, but yeah, there's very interesting things.
We should get we should get like a big, have you ever seen an emotion wheel?
Maybe.
We should get a big giant emotion wheel to sit back here behind me. And then whenever I say something to the effect of, I'm not sure how that makes me feel, we could just spin the wheel and see where the pointer lands and, yeah, identify our emotions.
That'd be a fun segment. Spin the wheel and. All right, apparently I'm feeling nostalgically anxious.
Yep. Yep. We could do that. I could use some of my arts and crafts behind me to create something. We'll see what I can come up with.
So, what else you got?
Well, I'm thinking maybe rather than starting a new topic at this point, maybe we ought to just say goodbye for this episode and encourage everybody to come back for the next episode. Who knows? We might talk more about dreaming or emotions or Star Wars versus Star Trek or euphemisms, all those fun things. But in the meantime, before we come back with our next one, people can check us out online: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. Just we're spread around like peanut butter and jelly. So check us out, leave some comments, follow us on YouTube, and be sure to come back for the next episode of What Else You Got, a podcast with Mitch and Margo.